Michelle Dubem is a poet, writer, and singer. The remarkable thing about her first published book, titled Expressions, is that after she wrote and completed the manuscript during her teenage years as Michelle Amadi, she didn't get to publish it until almost 20 years later. Now, I can't tell you how many people I know who have either unfinished manuscripts or finished but unpublished ones locked away in old boxes or computer drives somewhere. Perhaps the most common group is the one with people who have had book ideas in their heads for many years, but just never get around to writing a single sentence. Well, let's not get anyone feeling all guilty today. Maybe Michelle might just encourage you to get your writings out and eventually published. Michelle, it's nice to have you on the Channels Book Club.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. What's life like for you as a writer? I know you do poetry and you do prose. What's life like for you as a writer?
As a writer, that is not yet well known. Because it's something I'm doing part-time. Yeah, it's right now I have a bit of a lot of gigs. People ask me because I do performance poetry too.
Okay.
So sometimes for contemporary issues, or people have special occasions and they ask me to write something special and recite it at the event. I'm also currently working on a short story that's turned into a novella and is blossoming into a novel. So life as a writer and a performance poet is taking shape gradually.
Exciting.
It is exciting,
challenging,
but it can be more exciting than what it is now. Because I think, like I said, I'm still doing it like
it's a part-time thing. Well, most Nigerians, most Nigerian writers rather, are part-time writers. Even most writers all over the world are part-time writers because of the challenge of
getting a publisher,
of sustaining your writing commercially.
Yeah, in a way, I think mine too was. It started as a hobby. I started very young, as a teenager. I started writing, and I would just pen down things. Things will happen, and I didn't used to talk so much then. So
you put most of your thoughts in writing.
And I know as a friend saw some of the writings, I was like, put this in a book, because I would write and I would show them, I would write, and they're like, so I started thinking of compiling it into book form, and the writing was just flowing. I would just see nature, I would write, I'll feel sad, I'll write, I'll feel happy, I'll write.
That's the story behind your first book, Expressions, right?
Yeah.
And that's a very fascinating story. I understand you did not publish until about 15 years later.
Yeah.
Those thoughts of yours that you penned down became your first book many years later.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Very correct, very so. What happened was, after I wrote them down, and I didn't immediately publish, I collected the poems. I wrote them for like 4, 5, 7, 8, even 10 years.
Whoa.
I think my youth service years, I think that was when the person actually asked me to
think about publishing.
So I did send it to a publisher in Lagos. I sent it to a publisher, and she had all the cover page, everything was set.
Ready.
Yeah, and then that was where
you
it
just
started.
didn't move on with it.
We didn't move on with it. And
there was a pause.
There was a pause, exactly. And I moved on with life. Once in a while, write poems, write things here and there. And then one day, like 2 years back, I had just had this instant, the inspiration, go get that book out and publish it, So I'm like, where do I start from? That was not the days of GSM, Facebook, so I didn't know how to contact her, but email, there was email then. So I tried reaching her through email, and when I finally got through to her, she was like, Michelle, I don't know where the manuscript is. It's been ages. I don't know where it is. So I go back to my closet and I say, she doesn't know where it is. 2 days later, she calls me back. Michelle, I found it.
It was written.
Yeah, my handwriting. And I came down and I looked at it. Was novel. I was like, I wrote this. I mean, this was like 15, 20 years later down the line. It was awesome. And I marveled that even at what I had penned down as a teenager, because they seemed
They seem deep.
poignant, they
Yeah, I
seemed
read some of your
relevant,
very
and
deep.
even emotions I'm not sure I should even have, I mean, I captured, so that were captured in the book, in the poem. It still seemed relevant at this time, even for, I don't know, for, it just seemed relevant.
Oh, we don't have so much time, Michelle. We could go on and on. But let me ask you to recite one of your poems,
Okay.
as we round up. Would you like to do that for us?
Yeah, I would.
Thank you very much.
This is titled When You See Him Coming. It's loosely based on the book of Revelations, and a song I love by Phil Driscoll, I'll Be Riding With Him. So I'll take it. When the heavens open and you see through a horse so majestic, so white, and on it is seated the faithful and true, who in righteousness will judge and fight. When you see him whose eyes like fire burn, whose kingly head is regaled with many crowns, whose name written on him is unknown to any man ever born, whose vestures dipped in blood befitting for only him who sits on the throne. When you see out of his mouth a sharp sword, a nation smitten, together with the armies of heaven in majestic splendor riding, seated upon their white horses and fighting, in fine and white linen clothing, when you see the King of Kings coming, with a spectacular parade of heavenly soldiers with him, when you see him coming, just look for me, because I'll be riding with him.
Thank you very much, Michelle. And you wrote that at 16, 17, 18?
16, thereabouts, 17. I'm not sure about teenage years.
I mean, reading through some of your poems, and when I remember some of the teenage writers I've interviewed in the past, do you think we underestimate the creative abilities of teenagers in this country? I'm thinking maybe because of our educational system, the average young person doesn't leave school until maybe mid-20s.
Just hit the nail on the head. There are children all over who can write. I mean, my daughter now writes poems and she'll bring. There are children who write stories, but because everybody's looking at, I think gradually Nigeria might be moving away, but it's really gradual from you must be a doctor to be something, you must be a lawyer to be well known, but if like you said, the educational system can capture some of this creativity at such an early age, we would have great writers. We would have great, because I mean, as a teenager, you can imagine if those resources, that talent was tapped then. I'm sure there were many other kids. I've seen friends, many people, old, young, who tell me when they see my book, I have lots of books written that I just, things I wrote down, but they're missing.
Never did anything with them.
So if there was just a way our educational system could capture some of this and help us tap some of the talent, it would be awesome. Awesome. Maybe they have literary awards or quiz at early ages. We'll be amazed that we might find the next Maya Angelou, who might be me, who knows right now.